Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Apex Racing TV, here for a brand new series on your screen. We're gathered here for the 2024 Simwear Porsche Cup Benelux series. Of course, we've got 6 rounds of racing action up until the middle of December, which I'm sure we will all be excited for. And alongside myself, Nathan Richards, in the commentary box will be Sam Fitzpatrick and Samuli in the production booth. Sam, welcome in, of course. You're only here for the first round, but either way, you should hopefully be able to see what this series will be all for, and hopefully get some decent racing around Zandvoort.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to this one. This Zandvoort circuit still feels a little bit fresh since the rescan, even though that was about 18 months ago now. But these Porsche Cup cars are always very entertaining pretty much wherever we go. We should have a good format tonight with a couple of races, so yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Of course, and we'll have a quick chat about the format for this evening and for the next 5 rounds after this. Of course, we start off with the warm-up session, which will end in around 5 minutes time. Then we'll head into a 20 minutes open qualifying session, then our first race, which is 30 minutes long, then a 5-minute break, followed by our second race, which is also 30 minutes long, and then of course the interviews with our drivers after the second race concludes. And of course there is points on offer, of course, for all the drivers in both races. 25 points for the winner, 20 for second, 16 for third, 13th for fourth, 11 for fifth, 10 for sixth, 9 for 7, 8 for 8, 9, 7 for ninth, 6 for 10th, 5 for 11th, 4 for 12th, 3 for 13th, 2 for 14th, 1 for 15th, and then any lower and you will not score a point. So, of course, I'm having 2 races on each race weekend or each race evening. There's a lot on offer, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely, and those points can change fairly quickly. Often in sim racing and on iRacing, we have very shallow point systems where sometimes just a decent result, just finishing the race, can get you a decent amount of points, and maybe it's more consistency. But with a slightly steeper format, of course, this is like the MotoGP point scoring system. It means that those race wins will be more useful, and you can maybe afford 1 or 2 weak races. There's 12 across the 6 rounds that we've got, and those race wins are going to be rewarded, and hopefully that will mean that the drivers are more willing to make some risks when it comes to overtaking for the lead.
Certainly, and of course tonight we're here for Zandvoort, of course a brilliant track, one of my favourites in the world of motorsport, but also the next 5 rounds we have some brilliant tracks we will head to as well. So our second race will be at Spa, then we have Imola, Hockenheim, the Red Bull Ring and Zolder, so some brilliant circuits, some of my favourites as well, especially the likes of Imola and Zolder, which, well, Zolder being one of the only tracks I've actually been to in real life, and certainly the action is superb. Any the tracks there that take your fancy there, Sam?
Well, it's good to see Zolder on there, seeing that. Obviously, we've got a lot of Belgian drivers in this series. This is very much a Benelux series, so Belgium and Netherlands and Luxembourg and that sort of area of the world. And of course, Zolder has got the artwork update, which is coming in just a couple of days' time, which will make that circuit, which currently looks very old, I think it's like a 2010 scan, something like that. That's going to have a revitalization, and hopefully Spa as well. They're hoping that they're going to have a complete rescan for Spa coming out next week. That was a bit of a 50-50 for iRacing as well. So, I mean, if we can get a rescan Spa and a re-artworked Zolder, and drive them nice and soon after they get released by iRacing, that would be really, really cool, because those circuits will look much better with their updates being made by iRacing.
Of course, and Spa is on the 23rd of September, so it's not long to go. So if you can get the rescan done and dusted, it'll be a nice new experience for the drivers to get underway with. But of course, another quick thing before we head into our qualifying shortly is that there is prizes for winning the championship. So if you do become the top driver, you do take the championship, you will be able to have a free entry for the 2025 Simwear Porsche Cup. You will also get a custom-made trophy by the KGL Creation Lab, as you'll win 2 25-minute stints on the Digitraz Sim Centre, or Digitrax Sim Centre, I should say. Second and third both earn a custom-made trophy by KGL Creation Lab and a single 25-minute stint at the Digitrax Sim Centre. So there's prizes on offer. Certainly the drivers will be here looking to try and win them prizes, but I think there is around 20 at the moment. There's 27 or 28 drivers in the session, so there's a lot of drivers fighting for that championship, many of them of course being from Belgium, a couple from the Netherlands. So we've got one sole Swede, and I think we've got one Scottish driver, Ryan Walker, who is currently I don't think fully in the session at the moment, but we haven't got long to go, about a minute to go until the warm-up ends, and we'll head into our open qualifying session, which should be very interesting with so many cars all looking to battle for that pole position.
Yeah, and this is very much a circuit where you want some clean air as well when it comes to qualifying. You don't necessarily going to get that much from the draft, and instead you just want to have a clean circuit in front of you. And this isn't the longest circuit in the world either. However, of course, these drivers are used to the official series where you get 8 minutes of qualifying, just a couple of laps as well in that qualifying time. So the fact that these guys got 20, that should be enough time for them to put in a representative lap time. And yeah, really cool to see those prizes as well being offered, thanks to Digitraz and also KGL Sim Racing. And do check out their websites as well. On the KGLCreationLab.com website, they've got some really cool products being offered on there, including a beer cap collector's Belgium beers thing, but it's in a really cool shape, and you can put it on your wall. So do check that out, KGL Creation Lab, and also Digitraz as well. Check out both their products on their websites.
Of course, you know, it's always great to have some of the sim racing companies always working here with us, and of course bringing some brilliant championships in the world of sim racing. I think the Porsche Cup cars, I've seen them quite a lot on this new game, mainly because a lot of my friends drive them. on a daily basis a lot, and they are very nice cars indeed, and they also sound brilliant and look brilliant. So I can't wait to get underway with the action. Of course, not long to go until we head into qualifying, unless we're in there now already. I don't think we are. No, we're still in our practice session. We've got about 20 seconds to go until we head our way in. But of course, Sam, I know that you know a couple of drivers on the grid. Would you like to give us a bit of information about some of them that you do know?
Yeah, it's really cool to see a few of these guys who I haven't actually commentated on for a while. Ian Barber, who we're currently watching, is one of them, driving for Vortex. He is a legend when it comes to the Radical sports cars. I think he might even own a Radical in real life, like an SR10, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. I might be getting confused between drivers, but I think that's Aaron who has one, driven it on the Nordschleife and stuff. So he is a very good driver, and yeah, does a little bit of racing in real life. And in the Radicals, at least, there are very few drivers who are better than him. He occasionally jumps in nowadays, but he's a little bit more casual about it. But he is, yeah, an absolute really quick driver. Steve Kleiss out there, real life driving structure is Steve. He's a very competitive driver. But Kim Bahait and Matthew Southey, Peter Goosens, Sebastian Deman recently taken part in another series on Apex Racing TV, Ole Postrup as well, and yeah, several others as well who used to race in other series back in like 2018, 2019 on Apex Racing TV, likes of Ranks and Van Dyke as well. Have been driving these types of cars on the channel for many years, and it's cool to see them back once again. Still sticking with iRacing and still sticking with these iRacing leagues.
Of course, it certainly is, and we've got a few of our cars now out on circuit getting ready for the start of the qualifying. Of course, it is an open quality, so the cars went together on the circuit. So we've had a spinner further back there. I'm not sure who that was, but someone's had a bit of a spin, and that's not the way you want to start your session. That'll be Steve Kleiss there in a beautiful blue and white and yellow Porsche as he heads his way through towards turn number 9 and then in towards turn number 10. But I think, you know, this circuit, it might be short, you know, it might be a little short, sweet circuit, but it certainly is not an easy one, especially some of that first set to turn, you know, looks at turn 2 and turn 3. You've really got to rely on just having the you know, just hoping you have the skill and confidence to take the cars at such a high speed through them, because you've got to be able to carry as much speed as possible. But in doing so, unless you've practiced, unless you've learnt how much speed you can carry through, you can end up being in the wall very quickly, because the walls are always very close to you around this circuit.
Yeah, there's very little runoff throughout this circuit. Klopman there, who was very quick in our practice session, I think he may have been the fastest from practice 1, just dipping a wheel onto the gravel. I think that would be a 1x. But I could be wrong. He still seems to be pushing on, and you found a little bit wide as well on the exit of Hugenholtz Bocht. That's Jelle Verstraeten going off the circuit, but finds that little bit of tarmac out by the tyres and then doing the wise thing, not rejoining too quickly back out onto circuit. But of course, Hugenholtz Bocht is this big banked corner. This is another one of the banked corner, but the turn 3 banked corner, and that one is so demanding because the closer you get to the wall, pretty much the faster you go. And yeah, it's a super unique corner, and in terms of us to watch, at least, it is a really fun one, and also on lap 1 can be a great opportunity to overtake.
It certainly can, of course. You know, with these cars being a lot smaller than many of the cars that race around here, you can really have a good battle and go side by side in many of the corners on the circuit. As we're quickly on board with Gilles Philippets at the moment, who's heading on his lap now, just heading through the end of the first sector. I like to call it the roller coaster section of the circuit, because you're up, down, left, right, all the way through in towards turn number 7 at the downhill right-hander. A bit of a banked corner here, but not as banked as the other two around this circuit. As you head your way into turn number 8, the right-hander, of course, just want to hop it onto that curb on the inside and then try not to run too wide as you head through into turn number 9. As you head your way through, we can see Cohen Klopman at the top at the moment with a 1:35.344, and in the free practice session back on Friday, he did set the fastest lap of the session, so Klopman could definitely be someone we need to watch here.
Yeah, but now Barber is able to get back ahead. Barber was fastest in this warm-up session and was fastest in free practice 2. Really good to see the drivers seemingly engaging in those free practice sessions. It's quite a cool thing, and yeah, it's cool that we've got that data as well to reference to give us an idea. And of course, you've also got the gold and the silver on the timing tower as well, and the gold represents the pros and the silver represents the AMs, so a couple of different championships going on. And so Steve Clay's currently not top of the overall standings, but is top of the amateurs, so that's a strong position for him currently.
Of course, and another thing to talk about is there is 2 championships pretty much on offer, and because we had over 26 entries, we have the overall championship, which is between the pros and the AMs. But to give a bit more of, to help the AMs get a bit more dedicated and to put a bit more effort in, we have got an AM championship. Will just obviously be just the AM drivers, and there's I think around 10 of them on this grid. If I'm correct, might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less. So we'll see how that goes as well. Of course, that'll be something to keep our eyes on. But at the moment, it's Erin Barber at the top with a 135.081, but considering his 8,000 iRacing, I'm sure he will certainly always be fighting at the top as Cohen Klopman goes back to the top now with a 134.900. But one thing I'm noticing after the first couple of laps is the grid does spread out a little bit, so those at the back certainly will need to find a lot more time, as some of them are over a second off and some of them over a couple of tenths off those who are also not that good at the moment in terms of their timings. But we can see Ola Post up there going up into third with a 35.684, and considering most of our drivers are Belgian, we've got a Netherlands, Belgian, Swedish top 3.
Yeah, that's a good mix, haven't we? And then we've got a run of Belgians in the midfield as Van Look goes to the top of the amateurs. That's a very strong time from him. Gregory Ranks moves into 7th position, and Beesman now takes that highly coveted 7th place. Phil Pett also moves up to P6. I mean, we don't want to necessarily count our chickens too early in the season, but I mean, just referencing the free practice times and referencing the times that we've got in this practice session, Klopman and Barber might be in a league of their own, honestly. Like, the other day, Klopman was fastest in the first practice session by 7 tenths. I don't think Barber took part in that one, but then Barber and Klopman were about half a second clear of the next fastest in free practice 2 as well. And, you know, in this session, they're over half a second clear again. It might just be that these two are pretty much battling against each other, Klopman and Barber. At least on this circuit, they seem to be in a different level compared to everyone else.
Of course, but then again, you know, we're at Zandvoort. It's in the Netherlands and very close to Belgium, so maybe these drivers do put a little bit more effort into their home, or close to their home Grand Prix, as we see a few more cars just heading through. Of course, on board here with Cohen Klopman, just heading through into Ari Lindrock, and has a bit of a slide hitting the gravel, and that's another thing you need to be wary of. If you go into the gravel in these cars and around this circuit, you can get caught into it, and you really got to force the car out of the runoff area as we head our way back down towards turn 1 with Klopman again. And as Colin goes up into 4th, of course, Matthew Collin was 3rd in the 2nd free practice session, and that's going to be Colin going straight on, heading down towards turn number 1. So unless that was planned, or maybe had a bit of a mistake heading into the first corner.
Yeah, not quite sure. May have been that he completed a lap and then wanted to tow back to the pits ASAP and not waste any time. Or maybe it was a mistake. If you're going to make a mistake anyway, best to do it at turn 1, then you can tow back and you haven't wasted too much time. De Pape moves up to P4 now. He gets within a second of the fastest times in this session, but still 3 different nationalities up there in the top 3. And also Erin Barber currently out there on an out lap. Klopman is on a lap as well, but not a good one. I think he's just winding this up and will be pushing to reclaim that pole position in a few moments' time.
Of course, as we are still on board here with Klopman, heading down towards turn number 11 and 12 at the chicane, of course, having to navigate through a bit of traffic as he enters in towards the chicane now, as he does let off his lap there, so of course not on an improvement, so moves out the way to let a couple of cars continue on their way. As we see Erin Barber at the top at the moment, heading through into the final corner, currently on pole with a 134.687, looking to start his next lap. And of course only 8 minutes into the session. Of course normally we tend to only have an 8-minute session, in qualifying, but we've got 20 minutes today, which means the drivers have a little bit more time to get adjusted in. And of course, with some of the gaps being quite large, looking to nearly 5 seconds down to 25th, it does give those drivers more opportunities to try and bring themselves closer to the top, as we have a car in the gravel heading into turn 1. And I think turn 1 around this track, no matter what car you're in, it's a difficult one because you're heading into there with so much speed, and it's such a tight right-hander. It's so hard to get that braking point pitch perfect, and around a track like this where it's so short, you've got to get your braking points pitch perfect.
Yeah, it is a really important one, and it's one of those corners as well, turn one, where like you feel like you maybe have a little bit of margin every time you go into it, and then it's just that one time that you brake maybe that 5 meters too late, and you can just sail on straight through. As that is quite a big hit for Gondoliers. That is midway round the lap. That is at Shy Black. Is the name of that corner. Very fast right-hander. Anyone who watched the Formula 1 recently, the very fastest teams were able to go flat out through this corner, which when you're going around here in a Porsche Cup, it seems impossible that that could possibly be the case. And whilst there is quite a steep incline at that corner, or on the outside of that corner, plus the gravel, still the amount of speed that he was carrying ended up taking him to the wall.
It looks like a bit of a weird one because he didn't touch any grass, he didn't touch any of the curb, he just lost the rear, which is certainly an odd one. And of course, I'm sure many of the drivers on this grid will know the reason behind why they lost the rear there. And of course, Glenn will look to try and recompensate and get himself back a little further up the timing screens. Currently in P17, around 1.7 seconds off the pole position time. So certainly needs to find some times. A few more people finding some improvements. I think it was Van Dijk in 12th, improving his lap time and gets a little bit closer to the back of Romano in P11. As of course only the top 16 score points in this championship, and for the AMs they will all score points in their own championship. So with there being over 12 people out of out of the top 16. They've got a lot of pressure on them because there's so many opportunities to grab points, and if you're missing out on them by a couple of positions, you'll be hitting yourself knowing that the 16 drivers ahead of you will get those points. As we can see Colin there going up into third, and of course a nice improvement indeed, but no one coming close to Baba or Klopman really. A 3/10 gap between Klopman and Colin, and nearly 6/10 gap between Baba and Colin.
Yeah, and a better lap so far this from Klopman. Personal best sector 1, not the fastest necessarily. But his sector 2 will be coming up fairly soon. Not exactly sure where the cut is. Maybe he's already passed it, or maybe it was that white line there. I'm not entirely sure. I think he has passed it. It wasn't a good... Oh, there you go. He's just gone past it. Not a great second sector for Klopman. Wasn't a personal best, so I'm not sure if this will be a personal best. There he is. He has now crossed that line and almost crossing into the dirt as well. He's got a car slightly ahead of him. He might be able to pick up a tiny draft on the run to the line, but it would be hundredths of a second if he gains anything, as Barber goes fast. It managed to shave off another half-tenth, and he's now quarter of a second up. Klopman, was fairly close at the end of that lap. Wasn't improving. It was by 1,000th of a second, so he's very consistent out there, is Klopman, but he needs 268 thousandths in order to overhaul the pole sitter.
Of course, consistency is certainly key, and it's looking good so far for Klopman, but if he's 2.5 tenths off Aaron Barber every lap, that will certainly cost him a lot of time, and will definitely mean it's going to be a lot harder for him to try and take that lead of the race. As we just saw Lucas Romano there, going up into 7th place, was down in P11, finds a couple of tenths, and now pops himself just within 1.1 seconds of the pole time. As we can see Tej there setting a lap, but I don't think it was an improvement, as we see Wiesmann's enter back into the pit. So now a few more drivers going out for an out lap. Of course, Klopman and Colin, second and third, going out for another lap, and the gap now still increasing between pole and third. And at the moment, the rate it's going, Klopman and Barber, as long as they don't make a mistake, don't really need to worry about any other car on the grid, because they're all so far together. As that was Barber exiting the pit, and I think just moved over to the side to go back in and probably make some adjustments on something.
Yeah, maybe making a couple of adjustments for his last run, or last couple of runs in this qualifying session. Welcome to everyone, by the way, who's watching along. Nick DeBeck and Vince Peters and Bowden and Rani. Welcome to all of you watching this stream on YouTube. Do let us know who you are supporting. We might be a little bit more willing to show them on the stream as well, but it's very good to have you watching along as we're watching Klopman try yet another lap, and of course they've had a fair few attempts. This will be Klopman's maybe 5th attempt of the session. It's not totally easy to work out as he has locked up, so that's the end of that one. Will he tow back to the pits immediately? No, he seems to have enough fuel to stay out there as another driver goes a little bit wide. That was the 24 of Matthew Collins, so our second and third fastest drivers not having an easy time of it, and whilst Klopman did continue, Colin had enough. He will go back out on circuit, I'm sure, very soon for another couple of attempts.
Of course, and if I remember correctly, there is no ABS on these cars, which means braking can become very difficult, especially into some of the from the high speed into the low speed zones, as we will here with tyre strategic. Dependent improvement there to go to 8th place, just about, what's that, 8 thousandths behind the back of Lucas Romano, who's in the top 7 at the moment. And even though the gaps are quite large at the front, the gaps are certainly quite small in the middle pack. You can see there from the Pake down towards likes of Van Dijk, it's only half a second, and that's nearly 10 positions. So it's looking very close in the midfield, and of course further back as well, you can see the gaps are quite small between the drivers. So that should create some brilliant racing, and especially some good racing for the final point positions, because you can see there it's only about half a second from 14th down to 21st. And of course they're all trying to fight for those final points positions there, as Gregory Vranks goes up into P12 there with a 1:35.921, as I believe both Barber and Klopman have started another lap.
Yes, they are now on a fast lap, both of them. Good news as well, where you're mentioning just how close it is in that mid-pack, and I think the guy who's benefiting from that more than anyone else is Van Look at the moment. Like, he's in P9, but he's got 6 places back to the next AM, and when it comes to the AM Championship, that's going to be really advantageous for him to have all those pros in between him and his nearest rival. I mean that he won't have his nearest rival set on his rear wing. Instead, he will have a few cars as protection there. Of course, he will still try to improve, and Layton and Clyde and Verstraeten could still bridge that gap, but at the moment that would be a very strong position for him to be in. Aaron Barber going a little bit beyond there. He has still got time to get back out on circuit. The drivers can complete the lap that they start at the end of this session, so as far as I'm aware, at least, I believe that's the case. Or would it be the case, actually? I'm just trying to rack my brains, actually, whether that would be. No, I think they have got to complete their lap time before the 20 minutes is up. So anyone starting an out lap now needs to get round pretty quick in order to get their flying lap in.
Yeah, it's just over 3 minutes to go, as that will be Matthew Collin having a mistake again, and we've seen that a lot from second and third between Klopman and Collin, both having issues and running into the gravel on multiple occasions, as Klopman enters into the final corner on the circuit. At Harry Lardock, will see if he can find an improvement on this run as he heads his way out of the final couple of corners now and heads up towards the line. And if he doesn't find an improvement, I believe he will be starting his lap at this moment, and I don't think he did. No, he did a 35.0, so 4 tenths off there. So if that was the main lap, he's a little bit off his pace, just over 2 tenths off what he can normally do. So we'll see what Klopman can do on this next attempt.
Yeah, looks very good through these first few corners, but they're fighting over absolutely tiny amounts. But that's very clean through those first 3 corners. And now up to this easy flat out section. Just needs to prepare the car nicely for this quick right-hander on the brakes, and he'll be on the power as early as he possibly can to spit the car out. Not a whole lot of time until we get into this next right-hander. Very short radius corner, and he'll use all the curb on the outside. It is a personal best first sector, not a fastest first sector, but I mean, this looks super smooth right now for Klopman. It's no surprise that he has been as consistent as he has been in this qualifying session, judging by this lap, because there's barely any opposite lock, barely any sliding, and yeah, he really is getting the most out of his driving.
Of course, and I think you know, with these cars, the best thing to do is just be driving smoothly. If you can drive smooth, you're definitely going to find a decent time on the board. So that's something the drivers need to keep in mind as we see Klopman now enter the final corner. We'll see, can he find improvements on this next run as he heads his way now shortly up towards the line. Of course, the car in front of him will also be on their lap. What can Klopman do as he heads to the line? Will he find an improvement? He does, but it's not enough. He's found about, I think, half a tenth there, puts him within 2/10 of Barber's time. But still, that's a lot of time, 2/10 of a second, and he still can't get there. So if Erin Barber can find more time, Klopman will be sitting here thinking, well, what can I do at this point? As Barber goes back into the pit, so he won't get an improvement, I think, because there's only just under a minute to go. As we can see Klopman, coming into contact with someone heading into turn 3, and we've got to hope that car there wasn't on a lap.
Well, it was the 66, wasn't it? And that was Sebastian Deman.
Yeah.
He went into the back of him. So, I mean, he was on the racing line. Like, you know, usually you wouldn't be on the racing line if you're that high. I mean, he's almost off the circuit. But, yeah, he was putting himself in trouble. So I hope that Deman wasn't on a lap. And if he was, then maybe a penalty could be coming the way of Klopman on that one. But that will be all rewarded post-race, I believe. So we'll see if anything gets protested. Now, I think qualifying will end on the 20 minutes. I don't think they'll be allowed to complete the lap that they start. And there it is, the checkered flag. Yeah. Everyone disappears, and we'll soon be gridding up.
Of course, we'll see the grid for the opening race here for the 2024 Simwear Porsche Cup Benelux Series. And we'll see the graphic pop on our board. We'll see it is Erin Barber on pole ahead of Cohen Klopman in second. It's going to be Colin in third, followed by Postup, De Pape, Rubrook, Romano, De Tage, Van Luck, Vranks, Deman, and Philip Hertz, the top 12. And then we'll see in 13th, it'll be Simon Van Dijk ahead of Jana Beesmans, Thomas Layson, Steve Clays, Gilliver Stratton, Glenn Grondelez, Kim Behate, Sovereign Gerritz. It'll be Matt Yu Sophie in P21, Kevin Soffro in P22, Ryan Walker 23rd, and Kevin Deckers in 24th place. And then we'll have our final couple of drivers. It will be Peter Goossens in P25, Matthias Jacobs 26th, Christian Collin 27th, and Jean Van Liept in 28th place. And I've got to say, a bit of a surprise looking at 25th place. Peter Goossens is in a pro car, but he's starting right at the back of the grid pretty much.
Yeah, that is a surprising thing for him. I think the classes were mainly set by iRacing, but especially nowadays with these, I mean, I'm sounding like an old person, but with these Formula and sports car licenses, I'm not a big fan of it. And I think they took into consideration the sports car license. So sometimes you can have drivers have a little bit of a mismatch between their sports cars and open wheel. In my opinion, if you're quick in one, you're going to be quick in the other. But that could have been the case, or maybe it was just a bit of underwhelming qualifying for him. He's got plenty of opportunities to recover, does the 88. But yeah, he wants to get into that top 15 if he possibly can. Otherwise, he will come away from this race one pointless.
Of course, and I think we'll get into the race very shortly. I'm not quite sure how long it will be until we get underway, but I'm sure there's not normally much of a break in between the qualifying and the race. So we can see at the top, of course, it will be a standing start here as we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 lights for the opening round of the championship, and a good start from the top to the head our way down to the first corner. Barber holds the lead, Klopman still holds second, and we can see there De Pape looking for a move on Colin to try and take third away, and does get the notice that he stays in fourth. And we can see Costa up there looking to make a move as we head our way through in towards turn number 2 and 3. We can see Post up there on the right, going to have the inside into turn 3, but runs a little bit deep as we head our way into the third corner, and De Pape defends that fourth position. Now Post up under pressure here from Romano, who's currently in P6 as we head our way up towards turn number 6. But a clean opening start here for the championship, and many cars still brave to go side by side, which is brilliant to see.
Great start from Matthew Southey. He started in 21st position, but he's up to 15th already. Not sure how he's managed to do that, but that's P3 now out of the amateur drivers. So phenomenal stuff there from the Flemish Sim Sports drivers. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that in a couple of laps time once the field starts to settle down. Can go for a dive or two around this part of the circuit, at least on lap 1, but everyone taking similar racing lines and staying mainly in the same order. But top 3 still the same, and pretty much everyone else has changed positions so far.
something we did expect is that the gap between second and third is nearly 2 seconds already. The top two absolutely flying in this opening race. Of course, we've got 2 races, both at 30 minutes long, and this will be the first of them, and we've got 29 minutes to go, so the top two got to still keep increasing that gap as we head our way to end the opening lap, and it will be Aaron Barber who has that lead with Cohen Klopman in second place. And then further back there, we can see some moves possibly brewing up between. That'll be Van Luke and Postub, I think, heading into turn number 1. It won't be Postub getting ahead of the pace as we head our way into the first corner and up into fourth goes the Swede. Further back there, we can see Sebastian Deman having an argument with, then that'll be Datij, who has dropped the position, so Deman up into 8th place. And a brilliant start from Van Luck up into 6th place already. And that's what, 7 positions ahead of the second AM car, who's 3 positions ahead of the next.
Yeah, amazing stuff. It's so easy for these amateurs to get a little bit passive when they're fighting the pros. As Romano, oh, that's a little bit of netcode, I think. And Datij was lucky not to suffer worse from that one. That was high-speed stuff. Romano's wide again. I think Romano had a slowdown on the start-finish straight. He was really, really slow. So either that or an awful exit, maybe for coming from the penultimate corner. But I'm not exactly sure where he would have got that from. Maybe the chicane beforehand. But he lost like 3 places on the start-finish straight. But I think he's got one of them back there against Datij, as Philippetz has a look on ranks. Philippetz, one of the drivers who is back in the position that they started this race. And yeah, so far not really anyone getting really detached from the field. I think there's just a couple, Kevin Southwell having a little bit of an issue. But yeah, pretty much everyone else has all got a car in close proximity.
Of course, there's Ron Balls here with Steve Close, who started, I believe, down in 16th, now up into 13th, so a decent race at the moment for the AMP driver in second place as he runs a little bit wide heading through the final couple of corners. The bounce corner at turn number 14, I believe it is, around the circuit, and then heading back down towards turn number 1. And there, any surprise, Aaron Barber sets the fastest lap on the circuit, as we can see Philippetz there making a move ahead of ranks to go up into 11th place. A brilliant move indeed there from Philippetz, but he's going to try and cover it off as we head through turn 2, and he does indeed a brilliant one there to get himself closer and closer to that top 10 as we head our way round turn 3. Once again, of course, a brilliant corner, and of course one of those where you can go on the low line or the high line to try and defend or overtake. So I'm sure we'll see some brilliant action in that corner itself. And at the front still, the gap's increasing now, nearly 3.7 seconds between Barber and Colin, and just over 3.5 between Klopman and Colin as well, as we head our way through in towards turn 8. Once again, we're 3 laps in, 4 minutes in, and at the moment that gap is just going to keep increasing and increasing. Unless those top 2 make a mistake, no one's going to have a chance of fighting for a win here tonight.
No, it's totally different postcode. Now are those top 2 just? Oh, there's a dive. That is ambitious there from Van Dijk. Everyone's taking a really tight line into that left-hander, but not tight enough line there for Beesman, because he left a car's width on the inside, and Van Dijk went for it. And he has got past, so I like that move a lot. It's sort of a weird circuit this. We will have a fair few overtakes into turn 1. That'll probably be the most commonplace. And the outside line at turn 1 as well can work, so it's not necessarily easy to defend. But that middle section of the lap as well is very possible. A little bit of gravel being picked up, that will slow you down. Not necessarily a scary moment. It probably won't spin you out, but it will just compromise your momentum for the rest of the lap. But it's behind where Abatso is most likely to be kicking off. And this is Southey having to defend from Verstraeten. And Southey opting for the outside line. He could have defended the inside, went to the outside, and he does get a better exit. And if he can hang around the outside of 2, he'll have the inside for 3. What he needs to do here is not take too tight. A line always unsettles the car. Totally unsettled the car. He's spun around now. Fortunately, he's off the racing line. But that is just taking a line that you haven't taken throughout qualifying, throughout practice, and he's suffered from it.
Of course, definitely a big shame there for Machi Sufi, who was up, I believe, in, I think, 17th position before he had that incident, and drops all the way down now to 26th place as I think Sir Fro's out of the race. You can see him in the pits. I think he might be done and dusted as he's all the way down at the bottom. As we can see, of course, Aaron Barber have that race lead still comfortably ahead of Cohen Klopman in second, and still we've got Matthew Collin in 3rd place. And then also notice we've got another Collin down in 23rd, so I'm not sure if those two are related in any way, or in any way, shape or form, or if they just got the same last name, as we see Colin under some pressure here from Postup, who's in 4th position. Looked strong in qualifying, had a couple of good laps, and unfortunately did qualify 5th place. So we'll see now if Ola Postup can try and get a move down towards the first quarter, trying to close in here on the back of Matthew Collin. As we head our way to turn number 1, you can see a brilliant slipstream here for the Porsche in 4th. Looks to the inside, but doesn't make the lunge, so choosing to sit back for now. And I suppose on the first race of the championship, the last thing you want to do is make some enemies.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and those grudges will be held. At the same time, though, you don't want to be a pushover either, and drivers will consider when it comes to making a move, what type of history they have with another driver. And yeah, they will be more aggressive on a driver who they think, well, you know, if I go for this move, we're not going to crash at least. Whereas someone else who's maybe got a bit of a worse reputation, someone might think twice about. So yeah, maybe that will be coming into mind for the drivers, because of course it's a long season this, in terms of time at least, 6 rounds and 12 races across this season. But Postup still staying very close, staying behind though through the left. We haven't really seen anyone have a good opportunity into this next right-hander, Hans Ernst Bocht. And once again, he is too far back. That's actually a DRS zone, I think, in real life. At least there are DRS boards in iRacing. But yeah, it's rare that you see an overtake there.
Yeah, you do have a bit of DRS down there, and I'm not sure what the point is, because it's very rare to make an overtake, especially in a Formula 1 car. And even in the Formula 2 and Formula 3 cars, you can never make an overtake around that part of the track. And I don't think that they'll race there anyway, but I'm sure I've seen them on this track in the past. As we watch Postup now, looking possibly to make that overtake into the first corner on Matthew Collin. Is he close enough? Well, I think he was more than close enough. I would have gone for it, but no. He chooses to sit behind for now and actually taps the back of Collin through into turn 1, as this will be Clays looking to make a move there ahead of Van Dijk as we head our way into turn number 1. A red and white car versus a blue and white car as we exit the first corner, and it will be Van Dijk ahead of Clays for now, keeping that 12th place at the moment, but certainly under pressure from the AM car behind as we head our way to turn 3. And I think for a second there, Clays was thinking about the low line, but chose the better of it once we got in towards that turn number 3. And of course, the battling between these two has closed. Beastman's in, who's in 14th, and looking at the front of his car, it just reminds me of a Nintendo Switch with the red and the blue.
Yes, yeah, I think I am seeing that as well. Yeah, I'm a fan of that one. There was a pit stop, by the way, for our leader. It was Van Look. Maker Van Look came into the pits, so not entirely sure what's going on there. I don't think there's a pit stop, but I could be wrong. I was just looking to see if there's like a fuel limit, but these cars normally have more than enough fuel to make the race, so unless there is like a 40% fuel limit, then we should get to the end. So I'm not sure what's going on there. There is an instant penalty. Every 15 instants you get, well, after 15 instants you get a drive-through. Every 10 after that you get another drive-through. So I don't know if that maybe has something to do with it.
This is Van Dijk here. I'm not sure what's happened yet. We'll see shortly. It's a massive slide heading on the exit of turn 10, runs onto the grass, and now I think this might have been where they started their little battle between Van Dijk and I think it was Steve Clays as we head our way through. And I think, has Clays got that position? He has. Well, they're still fighting for it anyway. Down through turn number 1, and you can see there Van Dijk yet to get on the outside, and I think Steve Clays has got the move done this time around. A brilliant move there from Steve Clays to move up into 12th place and make himself the AM leader. And of course Van Dijk down to 13th with Beesman's closing in 14th place. But you can see at the top now, Copman's actually starting to lose a little bit of time to Barber. The gap there just over 8-9 tenths of a second. So it's starting to increase, and the consistency for Barber is unbeatable for anyone, isn't it, at this point?
Yeah, it's going to be so tricky as well to all note that is actually just after turn 3. So that's similar to, and I'm sorry for all the F1 references, but it's fresh in the mind, seeing that we only went there 8 days ago. But of course, where not Latifi, Sargent crashed in the wet. No such weather excuses for these drivers, however. I wonder how this happened. Oh, it seems like it's actually going to be one driver goes off. Oh no, they both lost it. Pretty much in the exact same way. They both dipped a wheel onto the grass. under traction and spun, but it was a much quicker getaway from Southie, who gains at least one place there, but he did get overtaken by the other drivers.
Certainly was, and it was Deckers who, of course, had that spin, and Sophie just spinned in sympathy behind as they went through out of turn 3. I think it was also a bit of Sophie being like, "Oh no, he's crashed. What do I do? I'll crash with him." As they went through turn 3, and we see Van Dijk get past Clays again. Those two still having their battle into turn number 1, still not finished at all. Between the 12th and 13th place drivers as we head our way through, and Van Dijk back into 12. That's going to be Benjamin Depay. Oh, and that'll be contact with Deman, I think, heading through to turn 3. Oh, wow, I'm sure Deman won't be happy with that one, as he probably suffered a bit of damage from that.
Yeah, he's only got some air damage. Hopefully he hasn't got any steering damage. Beesman's as well has had an issue. So all of a sudden, they are really struggling through Hugenholtz box, turn 3. And let's see what's happened. So this is actually Beesman's instance, which just occurred. A little bit of an ambitious move there for the drivers ahead. He's taking maybe a slightly tight line, and yeah, just dipped a wheel into the grass. And once you do that, then it is a bit of a lottery whether or not you'll be able to keep the grip or not. Of course, the grass isn't as treacherous as it used to be in iRacing. About a year ago or 18 months ago, iRacing changed it so that the gravel and the grass is much grippier than it used to be. But clearly there, it is still quite treacherous. Van Dijk versus Clays. Once again, contact between the two of them, and that might be the end of that battle. And that's not a good rejoin from Van Dijk as well. He needs to be more patient there. Must have thought he was on the edge of the circuit, but there was still a racing line between him and the edge, and that could be significant damage for him. And Layson may have been the driver who he made contact with, the start grid TV driver missing the penultimate corner.
Of course, and lap 9 has provided quite a lot of contact and quite a lot of action on the circuit, as Layson will, I think, probably go back into the pit lane now. It was a big contact against the wall, I think.
Klopman's had an issue from P2.
Klopman, where's he dropped down to? 4th place. So, yeah, big issue there for Klopman. Not sure what's happened. I don't know if we can get a quick replay of what happened to Cohen Klopman as he went through into the chicane. What happens here? Oh, no, that's turn 3, sorry. Goes through turn 3, loses his rear again. That corner, it's becoming a bit infamous now, isn't it? We've had over 5-6 drivers have a bit of a collision there. And, of course, Klopman losing 2 positions in the process. And he was the only one that could challenge Aaron Barber at the top, who's now got an 8-second gap to second place. He could spin and get back out in the lead. He's that far ahead at this point. So the number 3 will lead, will continue to lead, as this was the incident between Van Dijk and Clays as they headed down towards turn 11. Of course, the inside there for Van Dijk goes a little bit deep, and see, when you look at it again, it did look like Van Dijk they went very deep in towards turn number 11, and of course Clays, they just only barely clipping the back of him.
Yeah, I guess there you go, he had no steering. Did Layson, didn't know that until he got to the corner seemingly. Yeah, I think it sort of depends on whether Clays was always alongside. If he always had part of his... Oh, and we're off. Goes second and third, Colin and Postup. And that will allow Klopman up to third, and now Klopman up to second. So they've been given that second and third position, but they've outbroken themselves, and Klopman has been absolutely gifted back the runners-up spot and should be able to drive away from them now, halfway through this race, and another significant change near the top. Well,
luck is certainly playing a factor to some degree here for Klopman, who goes back up into second place ahead of Colin and Postup in third and fourth. As we, that's been a bit of a big collision. 2 cars involved. That'll be Van Dijk again getting into an incident, and that will be with Soren Gerrits, who's going to drop down behind Van Dijk, and as well that will be Beesman's going through into 19th. So we'll have a bit of a replay here of what happened. This will be Gerrits here on board in the white and red car. Well, both white and red, but the one with black on it. As we see, they both lost it again. At
so
that
much
time,
sympathy.
Yeah, very early for, that was Van Dijk, wasn't it? Very early for him to lose it.
Yeah, that's so crazy. That is crazy how much they're struggling on that corner. I don't think anyone's made the same mistake twice there. So once we get through all 28 of them making that spin, then I think we should be safe for the rest of the evening. But Yeah, good quarters of the field I think have spun there now so far in this race one. We've still got 3/4 of the evening to come. Peter Goossens running a very nice Porsche livery, it must be said. Fan of that one, particularly from the side of the car. I think that looks really, really neat. Jacobs, meanwhile, with a nice livery for himself. He is going to have to be compromised and a little bit of contact for the car behind. I think that was Van Look. Speculated on the YouTube chat, thanks guys for the info, that it's thought that Van Look probably had a qualifying fuel in the car, hence why he had to make an early pit stop, which has ruined his chances of winning this race in the amateur category.
Of course, and I mean, not particularly on iRacing, but I know on ACC I've made the mistake myself of putting the wrong amount of fuel in the car, and nothing hurts more than running in a decent position and realising you've got no choice but to pit because you've not got enough fuel, and you know, you do tend to hit yourself for a couple of minutes afterwards, but I suppose once he gets back underway and gets running again, you can try and make a couple of those positions back. He's currently down in P24, he's got 3 cars a couple of seconds ahead of him, so at least can still try and get into the top 21, but of course no points will be scored down in P16, but he will get some for the AM Championship because I think he will be around P7, P8 at the moment in that class, as we have Soren Gerrits there in P20 fighting with Goossens in P19 as we head our way through, and that'll be Christian Collin there having a bit of a battle with, I think that's Jacobs on the outside heading through into turn 10, runs very wide does Matthias Jacobs, and allows that'll be Van Links there to get the move, and or at least to try and fight for that move as Van Dijk made a mistake again or lost up another position. I think the issue is for Van Dijk, and I know many drivers can agree, you make one mistake or have one incident in a race and everything then tumbles down because you're driving angrily at that point, aren't you, once you've had a bit of a collision?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and keeping your composure, and you feel like you have something to make up as well, so you're driving more aggressively. When obviously it's you know, very good saying it, but it's very difficult to just reset and just accept the position that you're in and drive the best race you can from that moment. Instead, you feel like you have to recover the position that you were formerly in, and that can result in a lot of overdriving. Clay's being caught by Verstraeten. Verstraeten not able to get past quite yet, but any one of these next few corners could be an opportunity for him. We go into, this is just box 9 and box 10. Box 9 is the right-hander, box 10 is the left-hander, pretty much the only non-named corners on the circuit, at least according to racingcircuits.info that is. Anyone in the YouTube chat who wants to correct me, feel free to. And still Clays is hanging on. He's already had to do a lot of defensive work. He's now 4.5 seconds behind Ranks. Yeah, all his efforts being put into keeping the 67 behind him.
Of course, and doing a good job so far, of course, at the top of the AM category as we head our way through into the final corner. I believe these two will be in the same team, as they've both got very similar liveries. One of them with a yellow glitter and yellow mirrors, and the other one with an orange. So very similar indeed, as they, I believe, will have a bit of a battle here down towards the first corner for P12. Verstraeten's going to go to the inside of Clays as we go into turn 1 at Tiles and Buckton. No move gets made there by Yellow. Verstraeten stays behind in 13th for now. Can he try and get anything on the exit? He can't quite. But of course, if these two are still presumed teammates, I don't think they're going to want to fight too hard. You don't want to, ruin any sort of, any sort of friendship with your teammates. As we see them exit turn 3 now, and for once, someone not making a mistake through that corner. And you can see there, Verstraeten's actually going to go for the move, heading through into turn 6 and 7, and still can't find his way past. And this is brilliant defence here from Clays in P12, and of course, they now know with them being 5 seconds back and 10 minutes to go from Franks, there's no point fighting for 11th. You might as well fight for your 12th place. Yeah,
they must be. They're sort of teammates, are these guys? So, Clays is Eagle Speed Academy Esports, and then Verstraeten is Squadra Veloce by Eagle RS. So they both got Eagle in their name, but besides that, their team name states different. So I guess they're not scoring points with one another, but they are still affiliated to one another. So yeah, they are teammates, but they are racing with the gloves off at the moment. They're really being caught by Gondolez at the moment. He's up 4 places. Ryan Walker up 8 places. Good for him. He's currently occupying the last points paying position in that 15th place. It's MotoGP points, so 25, 20, 16, 13, and so on. Here comes a move for frustrating. Clay's not defending it totally, but of course the outside line is so powerful at this turn 1 that he might just be able to get on the power a bit earlier and keep that place. A little bit hesitant. It was a good exit for the 67. Keeps part of his car alongside, and now they're going to go alongside. Now, this is where the outside line is overwhelmingly the line that you want to have, unless the inside driver can block it off. And it looks like Clays has been able to do that, and he keeps that P12, but I'm not confident he's going to hold on for another 8 minutes.
It's going to be hard, but it's certainly going to be close between Clays and Verstraeten. Of course, Grondelez as well in P14, looking to close in and possibly make a move on Verstraeten before Verstraeten can make a move on Clays as we head our way through into turn number 8 at the right-hander. Just want to throw the car in, carry all the speed through, and then down towards box number 9 or turn 9. And you just want to get the car nicely turned in. I believe box just stands for turn in Dutch, doesn't it? So we've got Tarzan box at turn 1, we got box 9, box 10, and then all the other ones I don't have a clue how to say, I'll be totally honest.
Well, one of them is called Kumo, which, seeing that our broadcast tonight is Samueli Kumo, is an easier one. But yeah, some of these are tough. The Dutch language is not one that I'm going to try to tackle anytime soon.
Of course, I mean, you know, we're both British, and we both know that the British are very uncultured. So when it comes to pronouncing some of the surnames, it can be very difficult. So please, guys, feel free to have a go to us if we pronounce someone's name wrong. We'll take the criticism, because I'm sure that will need it on a couple of the names of the drivers here. But of course, it's brilliant to see drivers all from the Benelux area, apart from 2, which are from Sweden and Scotland, which is definitely an odd addition. Of course, Sam said to me earlier on, it must have been because they have some sort of relatives in that region. But we continue on for now, and of course, Owen Barber is absolutely flying at the front of the field. He's not Dutch, he's not Max Verstappen, but he's close enough because he's from Belgium, and I believe Max is half Belgian, so he's close enough as the gap is 12.5 seconds to Klopman in second, and Collins still in third. And I think the top 4 hasn't changed at all this race, has it? Apart from when Klopman had that spin.
No, yeah, it's the top 4 are still the exact same order as they started. Postup got ahead of Colin at one point, and obviously, as you said, Klopman, of course, had his mistake and dropped down. I don't know if we can re-find actually that instant between Colin and Postup earlier on when they went straight on at turn 1. I think we saw the aftermath of it, but we didn't see the initial cause of the off that they had. But they have remained very close ever since in the battle for best of the rest, and it might be a good run actually for the 666. Who dips into the draft, 0.2 of a second to make up. Will he go for a dive? Now just under 0.2 of a second. He could go for it if he wants, but again, probably does the right thing in waiting behind. Of course, Digitrax, the team for Colin, and he's got a Simwear logo as well. And of course, do check out Simwear.eu, because Simwear.eu are offering sim racing products from Azatec, Simagic, Cube Controls, Conspit, Promax VR, VPG Sim, Sim Rig Motion, and Sim X Pro, amongst others as well. So do check out Simwear.eu if you're looking to upgrade your sim racing equipment. It would certainly be a very good place to go.
Of course, and I think they also run a couple more series as well. I think they did a Formula 3 series a little while back, so that's also something to check out. Have a look at what other races they've got on offer, as we have a battle here for 5th place between Maxim Rubruck, Lucas Romano, and Matthias Satige in P7 as we head our way into turn number 10. And Romano there going for a bit of a lunge, but not quite close enough there to make the move for P5 as we head our way down to the chicane once again. Of course, the final chicane on the circuit, and any moves can be made. No dive bomb sent at all as we follow Romano through around turn 12 before heading into the final corner at Ari Lyndike. Of course, I think that is one of the most banked corners that exists, especially on the F1 calendar, isn't it? It's a very banked corner. I've seen a couple of pictures of people standing on it, and it doesn't actually look that banked on the TV, but real life it is. It's a big difference in degrees, isn't it, through the corner?
Yeah, I'm going to have to Google it now. 18 degrees is turn 3. I'm not seeing immediately. I'm not saying immediately what the other one is. But yeah, that's pretty steep. I think Daytona might be the highest in the world. I think that's like 32 degrees, I think, in Daytona, which is even steeper. So yeah, but yeah, in terms of F1, it is by far the most banked corner. I think probably a decent addition. I mean, the final corner used to be absolutely treacherous in GT cars. Like, there was zero runoff on the outside, apart from like a couple of meters of grass to the wall. And it was so easy to spin it there. And in a GT3 car, it was almost flat out. So it's a bit of a shame in the sim that we don't have that corner anymore, because yeah, it was a really good challenge where you're almost sort of accelerating through it, and yet still having to apply a little bit of brake to ensure that you don't run too wide.
Of course, and yeah, Eric Landock is 18 degrees, but it used to be a lot more until it got changed. It used to be over 25, so they must have made some changes to it according to this website. But we have a battle here for third place between Colin and Postop as they head through into the final corner on the circuit, the bounce corner, which has been the talk of the minute, as we head our way back down to turn number 1. And surely this time around, Olaposta will be close enough to make a move and take that podium spot away from Matthew Colin, as we only have over 2.5 minutes to go. To the inside at turn number 1 goes Olaposta, but I think he's gone a little bit too deep. He has gone deep at the corner, and that allows Colin to go back up into third place. And like I said before, it's a horrible corner, Tarzan boxes, because you want to brake later, but it's a really horrible corner to turn in. If you go a little bit deep, you lose so much time heading through that first corner, and that's what's costed there that podium position for Olaposta, who is up in 4th, temporarily into 3rd, and we'll see now what he can do as we head through into turn number 7. And I'm sure he can close in and go for it again, but he's got to make sure he doesn't make the same mistake, because that could cost him a lot, as that's going to be battling to turn 7.
Yeah, that's Rubrook coming under huge pressure from Romano, who very nearly got his nose ahead for a split second. He's putting his nose into a bit of no man's land there, forces Rubrook to take a slightly wider line. Now he's getting his nose ahead once again is Romano, the driver who started this race in 7th place. Having to take the long route on the outside, and he cannot get past. Maybe we will see an overtake, however, into the chicane, this time into Hans Ernstbocht. The defensive line being taken by Rubrook. However, the outside does turn into the inside here, using the camber to his advantage, perhaps picking up a little bit of gravel is Romano. And still, Rubrook is keeping a nose ahead. So confident on the brakes, so a little bit of contact between the two of them, and he's made that. Romano is up into 5th place, Datij will go with him. I think that was all fair, and just the momentum and the confidence was the deciding factor for the 39.
Of course, and I presume that there'll be... Is it going to be one more lap after this one? Because it's if you cross the line before...
This is the last lap.
Oh, this is the last lap. Okay, I'm still trying to get used to all these different formats here on the iRacing platform, as that will be the battle for 3rd. Yet again, Postop looking to make a move, and can't quite do so. Nearly hit the back of Colin, though, heading through. Out to turn number 3, they head through the roller coaster section of the circuit, the end of the first sector, and Postup's going to try and stick a wheel up the inside, but can't quite do so. We go to turn 7. We'll look to send Colin defensive and try and get a better exit through to turn number 8. But of course, no move can be made yet by Ola Postup, and he's looking to pretty much push Colin through as they head into turn 8. It's going to turn to the inside, the outside side for turn number 9, and we'll see what he can do as we head through into turn number 9 and 10 for one of the final times around here in race number 1.
Every corner being super defensive is Colin, but he's left himself a bit vulnerable there. Just went a little bit too deep into turn 10, and that's allowed his rival now to be alongside. Now, how generous will he be on the brakes? He could just force the 666 off the circuit, but instead he's slightly earlier on the brakes, and that might just be the move. It's taken him the entire race pretty much for Postup, but he's eventually got it done. Barber has won this one. He takes the checkered flag. Klopman will finish in the end in a couple of 2nd place. Despite that mistake, he'll start P2 in the 2nd race, and Postup is going to get past Colin. It was a very clean race, I think, between the two of them. I know they did have that slight off at turn 1, but in the end, I think that's a fair result. Postup ahead of Colin. Romano with a good comeback after dropping as low as 10th on lap 2 of the race. He finishes in P5 ahead of Datij, Rubrook, and it will be Steve Clays who wins in the amateurs.
Of course, I'm still trying to figure out, will the results of this race be the good for race 2, or will it be?
I believe so. It will be it will be the results of this first race, I believe.
brilliant race from players. So up into 12th, of course, overall, and it would have been Van Luck who would have took it, I think, by a great margin. But of course, having that incident with the fuel, and actually he's made himself up to 19th place. So he's done a good job. He was down in 26th. So he's moved up quite a lot of positions, considering he was so far back, and he only had about, I think, 20 minutes to make those positions back up. So he will cross the line in 19th, and we'll see the final couple of cars coming through, as it'll be Jacobs there and Deckers, who will finish in P25 and P26. And we did lose Layson and Safro. I'm not sure what happened to Safro, but of course Layson had that contact with Van Dijk and lost all of his steering in the car and couldn't continue on any longer. But it was a very good race indeed. A good way to start the championship around this circuit, and well, we've got another race to go, so the action can only get better here.
Yeah, and the drivers are getting to know this circuit now, and getting to know their rivals, as there is the results with Barbara winning out ahead of Klopman and Postup, and of course the winner of the amateurs was Steve Clays, Verstraeten second place out of the amateurs, and Kimber Haight, who I don't think we saw a whole lot of, rounding out the podium in the AMS. The top 15 get points for the overall championship, and then the top 15 AMS, I don't think there are 15 AMS anyway, get points for the amateur championship as well. As you see, just the two retirements, Southbury and Layson, right at the back of the order there. And of course, we have given a shout to a couple of the sponsors for this series, but of course do check out Digitrax as well. If you're based in the Lowlands area, then that is a very good sim centre to go visit. They've got 8 rigs over there. I think they are motion rigs as well for that extra bit of immersion. So do check out digitrax.be in order to head over to their sim centre, invite your friends, and you can have a very good time.
Of course, and a bit of a reminder that if you win the championship, you get 2 25-minute stints at the Digitrax Sim Centre, and if you finish second and third, you also get a single 25-minute stint at the Digitrax Sim Centre. So there's lots to play for here in the standings, and of course, if you do get that first place, you also get a free entry into the 2025 Simwear Porsche Cup Series. So that is something that the drivers will be keeping in mind before we head our way in. Of course, 3 minutes to go before we head into race 2, which we believe will be the starting grid will be the results from race number 1. But going through that race, of course, Erin Barber with such a big lead. It was over 13 seconds at the end. Something tells me that's not just because it's Zandvoort. Something tells me that I think he'll probably do that all season, because he looked just too comfortable, didn't he? Everyone else was having their little issues, having a spin and running wide, and Barbara, I don't think, made one issue all race. Maybe 1 or 2 here and there, but nothing major at all. So it's looking good, and he's just got to keep that consistency, hasn't he? And of course, as well, heading down to turn 1, not become Lando Norris.
Absolutely. And the only thing that could have gone wrong for him in that race was his race start, and I think he pretty much got the best launch of anyone on the grid. He's got plenty of experience with that. Of course, like I said earlier on, he's very experienced in the Radical sports cars, and that's a very tricky car to get off the line, probably a fair bit tougher than getting the Porsche Cup off the line. So he's familiar with starting from pole and starting with a standing start. And he's also got the highest iRating in the field, 8,001 iRating. The next highest, I believe, is 7,100 for Jan Bijsman. And then, of course, you've got some of the other drivers who we saw near the top of that first race, Postrup up there, and Rubik with 5k himself. So, yeah, Barber is so experienced. He's not really got any weaknesses. When he puts the effort in, there are very few drivers who are better than him. So yeah, he is looking very tricky to beat tonight, and I think across the entire season.
Of course, and we'll see what he can do, of course, as the season pans out. But remember, there will be some drivers that will not do too good just because of a single circuit. So we wait till next week. We could see some of the drivers move their way up towards the top, and of course, people who had issues in this race might also be able to work their way to the top, maybe in this race or in the future races we have in the championship. Of course, a quick reminder before we head in: we have 6 rounds in this championship with 6 rounds, but obviously 12 races. We start here for race 1 and 2 at Zandvoort, then we head to Spa, Imola, Hockenheim, Red Bull Ring, and Zolder. And I do believe, according to, I think it was Nick in the chat, said that we do follow the same calendar or the similar layout to the normal Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux, apart from swapping in Hockenheim for Assen because it isn't in the game.
Sure. Yeah, we could really do with Assen in the game, right? Like that is one of the best MotoGP circuits. Like it's really up there with Mugello and Phillip Islands in terms of being absolutely classic venues for motorbikes. A fair bit different to what it was 20 years ago. Used to be a much different layout, but they shortened it a fair amount, slowed everything down a fair bit. But no, that would be a very good circuit to add to iRacing. But yeah, all the others are pretty good circuits, and Hockenheim's not a bad substitute for that.
It certainly is not. So the warm-up is over, so we will get the cars on the grid very shortly and get ready for the start of race number 2 here at Zandvoort. And of course, yeah, we can see that the starting grid will be the results from race number 1. So it will be yet again Owen Barber on pole ahead of Cohen Klopman in 2nd. Ola Postep will line up in 3rd ahead of Matthew Collin 4th. Lucas Romano P5. Matthias de Tiege in P6. And we'll have Maxim Rubruck, Sebastian Deman, Gilles Philippert, and Benjamin De Pape the top 10, followed by Gregory Vanks and Steve Clays, the leading of the AMS. Then in 13th, we'll have Glenn Grondelez and then Ryan Walker in P14, followed by Jeleva Straighten, Kimber Haight, Armin van Dijk, Soren Gerrits. We'll have Maiko Van Look in P19 and Peter Goossens in P20, followed by Jone Biesmans in P21. Then we'll have Mathieu Soufi, Christian Collin, and Jean Verlimpt in P24. And then the following drivers we got are Matthias Jacobs in P25, Kevin Deckers 26th, Kevin Soffrey 27th, and Thomas Layson in 28th. And we haven't got long to go before we get underway for the start of this race. Barber did it once in race 1. We'll see if he can do it again in race 2. As we see the lights at the top of our screens, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights around Zandvoort for race number 2. Barber on pole, Klopman in 2nd as we head our way down towards turn 1. Many moves being made on the start as we head into Tarzanbocht at turn 1. And can Klopman make a move? No, he can't. Stays behind yet again. Postub and Collin going for a move into turn 1. These two went for a battle on the last race and had a move into the final couple of corners. Yet again, Postub defends that 3rd. What can Collin do? He can't make a move. He'll end up hitting the grass barely, heading through to turn 3. Slight bit of contact. Postub has the inside line as we head our way through turn number 3 and down towards turn 4 we go. But Postup's from 1 and now gives Collin a decent run heading up to turn 6.
Postup worked so hard for that P3 in race 1. He's not going to give it up easily. He's going to fight as hard as he possibly can. And for now, he is surviving already 9/10 of a second off the top 2. Klopman got pretty much as good a start as I think he could have hoped to. But once again, Barber just absolutely inflappable on the front row of the grid. Good start for Philip Pears, by the way, up 2 positions. He's up into 7th now. Poor start for Gondolaires. He's down 4 places, but generally not that much movement. No one really losing out massively as we've got 3 wide through turn 10.
Of course, that'll be Soren Goetz in the middle of that one, and a couple of cars on the left and right as we continue our way down towards the chicane for the first time in this race. And we can see there Peter Goossens in P22, the back of the pro cars as we head into the chicane now. A couple of 2 wide action going on in towards that corner as we continue on. And at the front, the gap this time still around 4/10 of a second between Barber and Klopman. And yet again, the gap between 2nd and 3rd is increasing. It's just over a second as that'll be that'll be Kevin Soffrey running wide through the gravel there at Arrow Lyndike. And of course, he had an incident in race 1, which was race ending. I'm not sure what happened, but of course, wouldn't like to do the same again and go out of the first 2 races both with a DNF as we head our way through into Tarzanbocht at turn number 1. And still, Barber in the lead, Klopman in 2nd, and this time, Postup's pulled a little bit away here from Collin in 4th.
Yeah, he has been able to do that. I'm not sure. Oh, so we've got a driver on the grass. I think he's going to make that. That is so made there from the 67 of Verstraeten. He had a bit of a... Well, no, I think he's just maintained that position. Oh no, Philip Hertz, who had a really good start, pretty much the best start of anyone in the top 10, he has made a mistake. So he was up 2 places. He's now down 1. We're going to find out what happened to him. And he was actually looking on the attack even on the 37, so he's behind de Tiege in P7 at this moment, and he's about to lose 3 positions and he's just carried too much speed on the entry. Pretty much dealt with that as well as he possibly could have, made sure that he got back on the circuit as quickly as he could, and that's why he's now down to 10th.
Certainly, but with the pace he had, I'm sure he'll try and move up those positions once again as we head our way through the chicane to get ready to begin the third lap of this 30-minute race. And you can see there the gap though between Klopman and Barber is quite small as we head our way down towards turn number 1. I think the closest we've seen them apart from the race start in both races combined. As we head to turn 1, can Klopman find a move for the lead of the race? No, he can't. But he's still within 3 tenths as we head into the first corner, and yet again, Aaron Barber taking the... Oh, that'll be Postup going off at turn number 1, losing 2 positions, possibly 3 in the process. Fought so hard for that 3rd place, and now loses it all as that'll be Steve Clays, who had such a good start in race 1, had a decent start here in race 2, and then drops down to 21st position. And yet again, turn 1, being, making victim of many drivers.
Yeah, Clays, of course, won the amateurs in race 1 and was only just ahead of Bahate in this race too, and then he's gone wide. So that is important points lost from Clays, just a case of recovering as many places as he can now. Fortunately, he hasn't lost too much time, but he's certainly lost a lot of position. So Kim Bahate now leader, as we've got Gregory Ranks off the circuit. I wonder if that might even be a hardware issue there with where he stopped. I don't see any visible damage on the car, or maybe he's...
brakes.
Yeah.
His lines isn't there from where he's gone off as we follow him through. He was running in, I think, around 20th position. What happened? Oh, he's had an issue, hasn't he? He just wasn't turning.
Yeah, maybe like a screen freeze as well. It seemed like he still had control of the car, but didn't want to continue any longer. I think he did a good job there avoiding.
Ooh.
Oh no, that is Van Dijk. I think that might be the second incident he's had at that corner. And everyone is scattering. Van Liemt's now off the circuit. We've got another driver in the wall. Gondolaires, who was on the comeback. That comeback's been stalled. There's a lot of drivers involved. I think probably 4 drivers have damage from that.
Yeah, at least. And many other cars having to avoid as Gondolaires goes round again, of course, trying to get the car back going. Of course, no traction control either, I think, in these cars. So, they're little beasts, these, and they're not difficult to drive, especially when you got hot tyres above from having a spin, and you're also in probably a lot of anger at that point, as you can see. This will be Kim Bahate there in a beautiful gold, black and red livery. I've got to say, some of these liveries are absolutely beautiful on some of these cars. Of course, the Eagle livery as well behind that will be Verstraeten, also in a very beautiful car as we head our way into turn 7 now, and we'll see can Verstraeten line up for a move. Of course, at the moment, Bahate is the race leader for the AM category. We've got 3rd in the AM category in race 1, so looking to take that championship lead at the moment for the AM category. But I probably shouldn't say that too early because we've got 25 minutes to go, Sam, so I'm sure something's going to happen to one of those 3 there in the AM category.
Yeah, I think something's going to happen, isn't it? Bahate starts behind Verstraeten, but managed to get past. Van Luck as well. I think honestly I put Van Luck as the favourite. He was so good in qualifying, but he's got to pick these moves sensibly here. He knows that he's faster, and he won't care too much about catching the likes of Walker. Obviously, that would be points for his overall championship, but it's probably the AMs that he's really eyeing up. And yeah, this would be good points. He wouldn't be too far off the championship summit if he could win this race too. He's in the draft, but the driver ahead of him, Scott Judd, he'll probably have to wait until lap 7 to go for me.
Of course, as we head our way back down to turn number 1, and the gap at the front's actually decreasing quite a lot there. The gap was just over 2 tenths between Barber and Klopman, but of course still focusing here on Kim Bahate in 12th place. Verstraeten still looking to close in, and we go back to the front as, yeah, this race around, Barber's not been able to pull away at all. Klopman's right on his tail and actually closing in within 2 tenths and below 2 tenths, I think, for the first time we've seen throughout the last 40-ish minutes of racing as we head our way through into turn number 8 and then into turn number 9 at the right-hander. And maybe this is... The thing is, Klopman knows he can't make silly sends on this time around because this is his only opportunity. He's been able to be so close to the back of Aaron Barber, so he's got to make sure if he goes for a move, it's got to be a clear move. If he makes a bit of a send and he goes deep, that might be all over for this race. So he's got to make sure that if he goes for an overtake, it is crystal clear, and on most occasions, it will work. So I think there was it Romano and the Siege they're having a bit of a battle, unless it was Postov getting past Romano, I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that one. Romano had a bit of a poor middle sector, so yeah, Postop was the one who was moving up into P4, so he might be able to get a double podium tonight. Postop, despite that mistake earlier on, as gap comes down below 3.5 tenths of a second, nowhere near close enough. And yeah, Klopman's just got to wait there. If it turns into a P2, then it's a P2, is what it is. He lost it on the qualifying. But if there is just a slight bit of vulnerability from Barber, he's got to be there to take advantage of it. At the moment, we have not seen any mistakes from Barber, at least when it comes to the races. And so it's unlikely that would be the case, but Klopman's going to keep him very, very honest all the way for the next 21.5 minutes.
Of course, and with the point system being 25 for first and 20 for second, if Klopman does finish in second place, he's only 10 points back, which isn't that big of a deal after round 1. So, you know, he's still in a very competitive position heading out of the first round as we head into turn 9 and turn 10 once again. So we'll see what happens here between these two, but I think this will probably be the battle that goes to the end of the season because no one seems to be on the pace of them at all. You know, the gap's 5 seconds to third, and it's only been 9 minutes in. You know, you're looking at theoretically 15 seconds to third if it carries on the way it is, as we see Matthew Collin there, of course, also stretching a decent gap to Postop, of course, after Postop went deep. So Collin's in a good position there because he knows he can't fight for second at this point. So he's, you know, he hasn't got to worry about pushing hard. So he's just got to focus now about keeping a good enough pace that he can keep Postop around 1.5 seconds behind. Because as soon as Postop starts to close up, the pressure builds, and the slipstream also is good for Postop at that point, so we can try and charge for a move. So as long as Collin can keep a 1.5 second gap, a 2 second gap, he should be safe to the end of the race.
Yeah, he cannot afford to let the intensity down whatsoever. He needs to have pretty much perfect laps to the end if he is going to maintain that gap. Postop was a few tenths of a second faster that last time around, but it was a personal best, so clearly reaching fairly close to the ceiling for his level. Got the 86 versus the 16, and Van Look is past, so Van Look up into P13 now. And Verstraeten as well also ahead. So Behate losing that amateur lead. He's down to third now. It sort of looked like that might be the case anyway. And now Verstraeten, who has been really fast throughout tonight, didn't have a fantastic start of race 1, or maybe it was a bit of a weaker qualifying for him, but his pace has been really good on the most part. And of course Van Look had a spin after leading the race 1 amateurs by a comfortable margin, had a spin, and that's why he is further down the order. So both these guys very capable, but Van Look probably you would give the slight edge to across the last 20 minutes of the race.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the gap is certainly coming down, and it's only a couple of tenths between Verstraeten and Van Look now as we head through turn number 10, heading down towards turn 11 and 12 once again at the, I think it's hand chicane, isn't it, turn 11 and 12, the hand chicane or something like that. As we
Hans Ernst Bocht is what they label it as.
I presume that was the person, Hans Ernst. I was saying quite uncultured by saying I don't know who he is. I hope he's not some kind of racing driver.
That's probably exactly who he is. I'll search. No, he's a writer.
Oh,
it's not
interesting.
Getting from this, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
It's an interesting one indeed, and we'll see these two head out down to turn 1 to have their battle for 12th place, and Van Look looks to the outside into turn number 1. Can he make that move? He's going to have to hang it around the outside, but Verstraeten can break later and force him a little bit deep. Does that, and no move can be made just yet here by Michael Van Look as we head through in towards turn number 2, then to the left at turn number 3. And we can clearly see Van Look has certainly got a bit more pace, but just can't find that move ahead of Yellow Verstraeten as we head through into the end of that first sector, up towards turn 5, 6 and 7. But of course, with over 20 minutes, about 18 minutes to go in this race, Van Look knows he can sit behind and make the move when it's there. He hasn't got to force it because he knows he's quick enough, so he's got a lot of time just to sit behind the back of Verstraeten and launch it when it's possible. He might go for it here possibly. He goes for a send. Can he make it work as we head into turn 9? It's going to be a difficult one, and still Verstraeten holds on to it. A perfect defence here so far.
Yeah, and Van Look's pushed it a bit too deep as well into turn 10, so he won't be able to get any decent exit from that corner. So yeah, for now Verstraeten is holding on. That's all he can do. But you're absolutely right. He doesn't need to go for anything too ambitious, Van Luck. And there are, you know, 3 or 4 corners which you feel like he could overtake on this circuit. This is close. This is very, very close. Come on, Colin. We're not biased or anything, but we want to fight for the lead, and that is as close as Klopman has got to the race lead for this entire race. Doesn't look like the launch into turn 3 is realistically going to be a choice for him. Probably turn 1 is going to be where he gets it done, if he is going to do it at all, as Van Luck and Verstraeten are alongside. Van Luck was, for a moment, ahead of Verstraeten, but he is back behind as they go alongside into turn 2, and then into 3. Verstraeten should have this one, really, with the outside line, and he'll sweep away, and Van Luck will need to wait again.
Of course, and you know, we've got what, 17 minutes to go in this race. There's a lot for Verstraeten to do, especially when he's not on the pace of Van Luck. So I've got to say, if he can defend it for a few more laps, it would be a superb job either way from Verstraeten, whether he finishes first or whether he finishes second in the category. And we can see behind as well, with the battling, Van Dijk's been welcomed into this party. He's currently 4th in that little train in the white and red car, following Verhate through as, Van Luck's gone wide and allows him, Verhate, to go to the outside into turn number 10. And you're noticing now, as soon as Van Luck's closed up, he's actually making more mistakes, which is certainly a big surprise. I expected him really to just fly past Verstraeten and keep that lead, but he's actually struggled quite a lot, and nearly came into contact on a few occasions, as we can see Simon Van Dijk here in 15th, looking to close into the back of Verhate as we head our way through into the Hansen's chicane and in towards Harry Lyondijk, and the gap at the front. We saw it close down, we asked them for a battle, and Klopman's now 7/10 back.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to make that up, Will Van Luck, on Verstraeten, despite those couple of mistakes. Van Dijk really having nothing on the 86, although on the brakes he's got a lot of performance. On the straight he was not gaining whatsoever. Of course, this is an open setup series, so he might be running a little bit more wing perhaps, albeit generally in this car, as far as I'm aware, you generally run a fairly similar setup every single round, and you just make small tweaks, so it's not the most customizable car in comparison to the GT3s. This would be an unorthodox move. Van Dijk just taking a tight line on exit and just was able to get on the power earlier. I think he's going to be past. He is past. Verhate doing the wise thing at backing off. Of course, this is a Pro versus an AM, so probably good for Verhate that he can send Van Dijk off to perhaps disrupt the top 2 AMs, and the 206 up to 14th overall.
And of course, as we had the battle here for 24th, all the way at the back of the field, with Christian Colin, Layson as well involved in that one, and Jacobs ahead with Goosens, who also hasn't had the best start at all, has he here, Peter? Been a bit of a poor start here in Zandvoort, and has been pretty much at the back of the pros all of the first and second race at the moment, as we can see here. Thomas Layson looking to close in here, possibly make a move on Colin, as he has a bit of contact heading into that section now, and will head down towards the next corner, looking to try and find that move and get himself up into 23rd place. And we head into there now, and what's happened there to... Oh, that's going to be Deckers going round, but what happened to Verhate? He's dropped down behind I think.
Yeah, we saw that move with Van Dijk. It was a bit of an ambitious one, I think, through the S's. Has dropped about a second behind those since then. Beesman, who of course is one of the highest I-rated drivers, the next to pass him, 2.3k Verhate versus 7.1k Beesman, so we'd expect that not to be too much of a fight. But that incident that we just saw before as well, a bit of movement of under braking, I believe, may have been the cause for that incident. And unfortunately, we had Layson very much falling, or I think it was Layson who maybe moved across on Deckers, and Deckers is the one who now finds himself a long way off the back of the pack.
Of course, and you know, normally at this point you'd be thinking, right, I'm going to retire the car, that's it, you know, I'm so far off the lead, but he knows that, of course Deckers knows that the AMs are in their own category, you know, they in terms of their own standings, so they will also get their own points, as that's going to be Beesman's going round. Now, that is certainly a big surprise from the driver that's second in the iRacing, theoretically should be second best, has had a poor qualifying, and oh, look at the damage on the back of that car. It looks like he's got some damage, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He's clearly been hit at some point in the race, and that might be the reason why he's making mistakes like that. I'm sure that's what he will say. But also, it's a fairly warm circuit, I believe. 20 degrees air temperature, to be fair. 33 degrees track temperature, so not too bad. It's not the grippiest circuit in the world, this, I think, as here comes a little bit of a overtaking game from Van Luck. He dropped off a little bit, didn't he, after a couple of mistakes around the middle part of the lap a few laps ago. But he's right back onto the rear of Verstappen. Now, he's only got 12 minutes to go. When he caught up initially, he had 20 minutes to get past. 8 minutes has passed, and he still hasn't made the move, so he'll be getting a little bit tetchy now, but still, I would say he's the strong favourite for the amateur lead.
He certainly is as we head our way through. Once again, car 67 versus car 16. Of course, one of them could be Charles Leclerc, but I'm not sure who would run car 67, as that's going to be a brilliant descent there from Van Luke heading into turn number 8. Does he go for the send into the corner? He does, but couldn't quite make it work. But it does send Verstappen a little bit wide, and then it will give the inside here to Van Luck into turn number 9. Can't quite find the move there. We'll have the outside into turn number 10. Let's see, can Van Luck take that amateur lead as we head our way through, exiting turn number 10 and down towards the chicane. There you go. Van Luck on the outside. Sorry, that we've straight on the outside. Van Luck up the inside now as we head into the chicane. And who will take that amateur lead as we head into the chicane? They go. And Verstappen are going to try and keep it there, but Van Luck, he's trying for 19 minutes, but finally gets it done. And as I say that, he loses the position again.
Yeah, almost seemed like he'd done it, hadn't it? Because he was a bit risky with how much he pinched through the second part of the chicane, but they avoided that, and then he just ran a bit wide mid-corner, but he's still all over the back, and once again he'll be on the outside into Tarzan, gets his nose ahead. This might be enough to just get him ahead through turn 1. The outside banking really seems to help the driver on the outside. He can get on the power a bit earlier. Again, that absolutely dead level. Van Hook gets his nose ahead. And now he needs to just run this one really in deep to turn 3. That's what he's done, and there he's been able to block off the move. If he stayed tight, he would have been done on the exit, but he ran up high mid-corner, and that blocks the run from Verstappen. A bit of a block pass there from him, and it's got him the move. He's up to 12th place overall, but crucially lead of the AMS, and now this is his opportunity to start pulling away.
Of course, and now he needs to pull away. If he doesn't, that might be all done and dusted as Verstappen can easily fight back, but if he can pull away and get a second gap, he should be more than fine as we head our way through to turn 9 and into turn 10 once again. And we can see at the front of the field, the gap's not really decreasing, but it's not really increasing between Aaron Barber and Klopman, as we can see Van Dijk now looking to make a move ahead of Verstappen down towards turn number 11 and 12 they go. Of course, it will be Verstappen on the inside at the chicane, Van Dijk on the outside. It's a pro versus an AM, and the pro gets the move done like a pro heading into that final chicane. We head through into turn number 13 shortly, and we'll see what Verstappen can do, but I don't think he can fight with Van Dijk here as they head down towards turn number 1. I think that might be done and dusted here for Simon Van Dijk, and Verstappen's going to have a bit of slipstream, but I don't think it'll be enough.
No, yeah, I don't think he's going to come back in that battle. Here is Romano versus Dettige. That last lap, Dettige was 0.2 of a second faster, so he might be able to overtake fairly soon. Once again, just another shout out to Simwear.eu for, of course, being the title sponsor for this series, and of course do check out Simwear.eu for sim racing products from Azatec and SimMagic, Cube Controls, Conspit, Track Racer, and many others where you can get wheel rims and motion rigs and sim racing rigs of all kinds. And yes, certainly do check them out for upgrading your sim racing equipment, as Van Dijk has gone wide. It was a brilliant move, by the way, as I was talking, from Beisman, who just swooped straight around the outside of Southie. It was a lovely move through turn 3 and really demonstrated the power of the outside line at turn 3. However, that was quickly overshadowed by Van Dijk making a mistake, and now we have a mistake from Matthias Jacobs at the same corner, who drops to 24th.
Of course, and we have 8 minutes to go in this race, and it's still Barber that leads, Klopman in second, and that gap, it went below a second but increased yet again, so just around that 1 second margin. And at the moment their pace is, I think, pretty much equal. You know, I think Barber's got a little bit in it, but I don't think it's that difference at all. Of course, they're in the beautiful black and red liveried Vortex team he's racing for, and Klopman in second and Colin in third. And I've got to say, this time around, the gap isn't as big as it was before. I think in race 1 it was over 12 seconds by now, but it's now 10.6. So it seems the pace has been better overall from all those third and below, but that could also be because there hasn't been much battling, because of course after that incident with Poster going wide at turn 1, he hasn't caught up at all really to the back of Matthew Colin. It's still just over a second the gap between them, so Colin yet again has just got to keep himself calm and collected and bring it home to a P3, which would also be decent for the Digitrax sim racing team.
Yeah, would put him joint third in the championship with Poster. They would have split the third and fourth positions, and that would pretty much be as good as what either of them could have hoped for. Of course, both of them maybe could have got on the podium, but I think they'll take a third and a fourth, each of them. Behind, the battle's not particularly close to man, a bit ahead of Rubric and De Pape. There was a battle further back involving Layson and Colin and co, but that one seems to have spread out a bit now, so not quite as much going on out on circuit. But again, a little bit of a, well, similar attrition rate, I guess. We've got 2 retires. We had 2 retirements in race 1, 2 retirements in race 2, but everyone all still on the lead lap who's still running.
And of course, as we see Sebastian Deman, I haven't seen much of him in this race at the moment. Car number 66, running a beautiful pastel orange and greenish livery. I'm not sure what the name for those shades of colours are as we head into turn number 1. And what's happening there to Romano?
Oh, wow.
And he's flew into the wall at a very high speed into turn 1. It looks like into turn 1 he's carried a lot of speed there.
I feel like that might be a hardware issue because we saw him blinking. I wonder if he's maybe got like a throttle jamming because he's hit that wall so fast. It's not so he's accelerated mid-corner.
Oh.
Well, maybe he just hasn't turned. But yeah, like some hardware issue there because you can see him blinking in and out, and he's hit the wall hard. So that's a shame for Romano, who fought so well. I think he was P5 in race 1. Had to fight up a lot of places to get there, and he was driving well in race 2. As we see a move there, that is Van Dijk ahead of Behait and Biesman. Biesman, of course, who had a couple of spins, I think, already. He got involved in the lap 1 or lap 2 incident, maybe it was, down at the Hans Ernst Bocht chicane. And then he also got a bit of a spin as well at turn 10, which is the corner that we're about to approach. As he has a half attempt at that one. He's a bit fortunate there that Selfie saw him, opened up the steering himself, and Biesman will be passed and up to 14th overall.
Of course, as we head our way back down to turn number 1 once again. Of course, Biesman's ahead of Behait there, and then Van Dijk in 13th place as we head our way through and towards the final couple of corners. We've only got around, well, just over 4 minutes to go in this race. So it's been I'm going to say this race felt like it went a lot slower than the other one because there's been a little bit less action, especially in the mid part of this race. Of course, Barber and Klopman haven't really been much different in terms of where they are in the timings, and then of course those behind have also been having some decent battling, as actually, look at the gap there between Colin and Poster. It came down, it's below a second, it's now just under 6/10, so we could still have yet again another battle for the podium, as that was a massive lunge there from Poster, taking all the speed through in towards turn number 7 and nearly lost the car heading through there, took all the curb, and he's pushing hard now to try and find that move ahead of Colin. Of course, he did it on the last lap, last race around. We'll see if he'll try and do the same again, but the gap has came down, as that'll be Peter Guzens coming into contact there with another driver heading through into turn number 1, and yet again turn 1 being a killer.
Yeah, I wonder if there's been a bit of iRacing glue here because it looks like it's teasing up to that one, and yeah, it was iRacing glue. So the 88 just understaying out a little bit, and the 999 having some contact, and then once that happens on iRacing, at the moment at least, the cars sort of glue together, and then the inside jar gets spit out onto the outside of the circuit. Matthias Jacobs, that's the same mistake that he made a couple of laps ago. This time it hasn't lost him a place, however it might do come the end of the race because Goosens is right on his tail with 2.5 minutes to go.
Of course, as we head our way through to box 9 and 10 here with, I think, Jacobs for a second, but we're now up with third with Matthew Collin, who's defending from Olaf up again. You know, the gap was over a second, it was comfortable, and with only a couple of laps to go, the gap comes down once again. So we'll see. What can Collin do on this occasion? He's got to defend, but we all know that Olaf has been very quick when it comes to looking to make moves, and very aggressive when he's looking to try and make some moves for third place. And as they head into turn 9, the gap's just under 0.2 of a second between the two. It's not going to be that long before Possup can make a lunge.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much he's in range now. It's just about whether, yeah, he can pull off the actual manoeuvre. We have got one more lap to go. Now, it took him many laps in race 1, didn't it? It took him, like, pretty much the entire race, pretty much the entire half an hour in order to get the move done. This time he's got 1 lap to get it done. So there's a lot more pressure, but he knows that he can't hesitate. And of course, it might be a little bit tricky for Collin to defend from here, because he hasn't had to defend so far in this race. He'll have to reference back to what he did on the most part in race 1. Looks like he might be safe into T1, honestly. He'll probably put his car in the middle of the circuit just to cover off any dive. No, he's confident enough to take the racing line, and he was wise to do so. He's able to carry good speed through turn 1, and the opportunities are running out for Poster on this last lap.
Of course, last lap of the race now. Matthew Collins only got a couple of corners to defend against Ola Poster in 4th place, but last time it took them all the way till turn 12 before the move for 3rd was exchanged. And of course, at the front, Baba's just been flying away, hasn't he? You know, it's been a superb race here from our end at the front, and of course, Cohen Klopman in 2nd place, and these two in a league of their own. But of course, Colin and Potter have been fighting for that best of the rest of the podium positions so far in this race as they head down to turn 9. Do we see a move here for 3rd place? No. Postup is not close enough on this occasion. What about into turn number 10 here? He'll have the possible outside. He'll take it to the outside to try and send Colin deep into the corner. They'll head down towards the chicane once again. It happened last race around 30 minutes ago, and will it happen again? Postup's just going to launch it now into the chicane. He goes for the send, and can he make it work? He can't.
And now he's across the gravel, and that's it. Maybe even been a slowdown as well with how much gravel he took. So it will be the 3rd and 4th split between the two of them, but there's no splitting. This man, it is a perfect start to the championship for Aaron Barber. 2 wins to his name. Klopman has to settle for 2nd best. I don't think there's any more that he could have done, and Colin will round out the podium.
Of course. Aaron Barber, pole, win. It can't get any better than that at all, of course. He was quickest in the FP2 session as well, where he took that 134.8. So he has just been the quickest driver by a decent margin overall, as we see Tej go into P5, Deman P6, Rubrook 7th, DePape 8th, Philippetz 9th, and Walker in the top 10. And didn't Ryan Walker start in about 20th position? I'm sure he started quite far
in race 1, yeah, he started in like so across the 2 rows, across the hour of driving. Yeah, I think he gained about 15 places.
Brilliant, superb. I mean, he was a bit quiet in that race, wasn't he? I don't think we saw him once for the last 10-15 minutes of the race. As of course, Van Luck takes the top of the AM category. Verstraeten 2nd with Behates in 3rd, and I think Behate got 3rd last time around as well. So, looking very interesting indeed in the AM category.
Yeah, I'm not sure who will be leading the championship. I feel like they've all split the points. Maybe Verstraeten might be top. I think he's got a 2nd and a 3rd, but or maybe 2 seconds. I'm not entirely sure.
One of them.
Yeah. Van Luck, of course, will be there. So basically, no one would have got a decent lead, unlike Barber, of course, who's got a small lead over Klopman, and then Colin and Postup will be joint 3rd in the pros. In the AMs, there are seemingly 5 drivers or so who could genuinely be a threat in the remaining rounds. Still got 5 more rounds to go. Got a few weeks until the next one, but certainly a good start to the championship.
Of course, and we'll shortly see the race results yet again on our screens, and hopefully we can get a couple of drivers here in for an interview afterwards. I mean, I know it was scheduled on the race schedule, so we'll see if we get any pop in, but we can of course see it'll be Erin Barber who tops the session once again, ahead of Cohen Klopman in 2nd, Colin 3rd, followed by Postup, Tej, Deman, Rubrook, DePape, Philippetz, and Walker the top 10. Then leading the YAM category will be Van Luck, Verstraeten, and Verhate. with Van Dijk and Beastman's there in 13th and 14th. And we have Sufi, Clays and Sofro in the top 18. Sofro definitely increased his positions from early on. Of course, had a DNF in race 1, but moves up to 18th in race 2. Then we have Van Leept in P19, Layson in 20th. Then we have Colin Jacobs, Goosens, Deckers and Goetz. And then we did lose Romano in the last couple of laps. We lost Grondelez as well and Franks.
Yeah, 3 retirements in that one, wasn't it? It was only 2 in race 1, 3 in that one, but I think everyone else drove fairly smoothly. Nathan, would you like to have a chat with our race winner?
You can do indeed. We'll quickly drag him in as he pops in. Erin, welcome. Can you hear us?
Yes, hey guys.
Perfect. So, well, a perfect way to start the championship. Pole, win, and, well, by a decent margin. In race 1 especially, over 11 seconds to Klopman. In race 2, he was only around a second back, but you had him the whole way. So, do you think this is a pace we'll see throughout the season, or was it just this is one of your special tracks?
No, actually no, I really don't like this track, but I practice it a little bit, so it's okay. Pace-wise, it was good. On the second race, I was worried a little bit about the fuel. I don't know, my fuel calculator was glitching, so I thought I needed to save like 1 liter or something. So I was like driving and then watching the calculator, but then like lap 5, 6, it was okay, and then I started to push. So yeah, but the pace was okay. I mean, I think I can improve. Yeah, for the first race, I'm really happy with the performance.
Of course, and with you and Cohen taking obviously you've taken both firsts and Cohen taking 2 seconds, that means the gap in the championship will be 50 to 40. So you've got a decent gap to Klopman in second, but of course heading into Spa next week, of course, not next week, sorry, in a couple of weeks, of course, again we have the 2 30-minute races. How's your pace looking around there, do you think?
Spa is one of my favorite tracks, so I'm really good at Spa, much better than here, so I hope to perform a little bit better.
Of course. So, a brilliant race indeed. Anything from you, Sam, for Erind?
Yeah, of course, congratulations, Ernst, on that one. Of course, we've seen you in the radicals a lot. I mean, what would you say is the difference between this radical car and the Porsche Cup, and which do you enjoy more at the moment?
Yeah, we go way back, I think, Sam, with the radicals. It was really difficult for me to adapt to the Porsche Cup, mainly because I only drove radicals my whole iRacing career. So, but then I started to drive the Porsche Cup more and more, and I'm liking it. Of course, it's not the same. You cannot push like you do on the radical. You need to watch out to take care of the tires, because the car is really fragile. The second race I locked up like 1 or 2 times, and then you see the pace drop. So you really need to be careful with the Porsche Cup. It's like people say, it's one of the most difficult cars to drive in iRacing. If you can drive the Porsche Cup, you can drive basically anything.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's good as well that there's such high competition as well in this car as well, which I'm sure you'll appreciate in future championships. Well, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
All the guys from the league who organized it, really professional. Everyone is really friendly, and then of course you guys for commenting for broadcasting the race. I will just have something to drink and then watch the race.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Aaron, and we'll see you back very soon.
Yeah, see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Would you like to take an interview with Cohen, Sam?
I shall do. Cohen Klopman joins us now. Well, Cohen, I think a second tonight. Obviously, being that close to the win in race 2 must be a bit frustrating, but across the evening, it must feel like you pretty much maximised that result, because Aaron looked almost unbeatable.
Yes, he did. Good evening, by the way. Yeah, it was just that tedious 1/10, Once I made a mistake in Schijfvlak. He was just creeping away, going over the second, and then I almost lost the draft. And I mean, he just doesn't make any mistakes. So I was locking up here and there, and then he was just creeping away. So there was like nothing I could do.
Overall, though, tonight you must feel pleased that you're able to drop pretty much everyone else bar Aaron, because of course, you know, your iRacing is one of the highest. I think it's maybe the 4th or 5th highest, but I mean, you're dropping drivers who have got a few more hundred iRacing than yourself. Were you surprised just how strong you were on this circuit?
Well, it's my home track, so I like it. So I'm not surprised that I'm fast here. But let's hope I can continue this streak onto Spa. But we'll see.
And of course, yeah, moving on to Spa next time out. Do you think if the pace difference is similar between you and Aaron, do you think Spa might just be enough of a draft circuit that you're able to make the moves that you were just short on tonight?
I hope so. Of course, it's the draft is pretty strong in these cars, so hopefully I can stay with him. So yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck for that one. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
You guys, of course, for broadcasting, and the league organizers. Just awesome to have these races. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Cohen, and we'll see you back in a few weeks' time.
No problem. See ya.
Bye.
Cohen Klopman there, runner-up in both the races, Nathan.
Yeah, indeed. You know, it's always good, isn't it, to have a chat with some of the drivers after the chaotic races that they've both been through. And of course, you know, Barber and Klopman just, you know, miles ahead of everyone else, literally miles ahead of everyone else at this point. A superb race from them indeed. But of course, next time out, we're back for Spa. And Sam, you won't be here next time, so you're going to miss out on all of the action. But surely you'll be watching along on the YouTube if you have a bit of time, because the action will certainly be great once again. But thank you all, of course, for joining us. Make sure to check out Simwear, as they provide so many different products. I mean, from all the companies that I don't even know. There's about 10 different companies that provide products for, so make sure to check those out over at Simwear.eu. And of course, a big thanks to Sam for being alongside me, and of course, a big thanks to Samuli as well for being in the production booth tonight. I've been Nathan Richards. We've had Sam Fitzpatrick alongside us, and that will be it here for tonight, guys. So make sure to check out once again all the action on the 23rd of September for round 2. And of course, make sure to keep yourselves in tune over on Apex Racing TV, because we've got action, I think, every day throughout until Saturday. So make sure to catch all of the action then. But for now, that is all. So have a good evening, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Good night.